I rewatched Casper, the 1995 movie, Casper the Friendly Ghost. And I was pretty excited to watch or rewatch this movie because it has been so long that I've seen this movie. And I'm going to rate this movie a 6 out of 10. Now, maybe because I feel a little bit nostalgic about this movie, I would even give it a 7, but I'm trying to be a little bit honest and try to keep the nostalgia out of this review. So, a 6 out of 10, I think that's well deserved. I think that's actually pretty good for this movie. Now, Casper, this movie, it feels like a warm blanket from your childhood, or from my childhood at least. I mean, I grew up in the 90s, so all 90s movies, whether they are actually good or bad, they always feel a little bit nostalgic. So I always bump them up a grade or two because they are nostalgic. So Casper is no different than the other movies. Now, this movie, it's definitely silly. It is a little bit spooky, but it definitely is a comforting movie to watch. And watching it again almost 30 years later, I mean, this movie is from 1995, 30 years old. It's pretty amazing to see how well this movie actually holds up. And yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, this isn't high quality art, this isn't high quality CGI, but it definitely is good. It's pretty surprisingly ambitious for what it was doing in 1995. So, yeah, pretty good for this movie. Now, what is this movie really about? Well, in this movie, we have the main villain, Kerrigan, and she is a greedy heiress. And she inherits a creepy old mansion instead of a buttload of money. So she's furious and she discovers a hidden treasure map inside the deed. And she heads to the property, she heads to the mansion, hoping to strike gold, hoping to go home with a lot of money. Except there's one problem. The house, the mansion, it's haunted. Well, what do you expect? This is a movie about ghosts, so of course the mansion is going to be haunted. So what does she do? Well, she hires a quote unquote ghost therapist, Dr. James Harvey, played by Bill Pullman. And he moves in with his teenage daughter, Kat, played by Christina Ricci, and soon they meet the mansion's ghostly residents. First of all, Casper, who is the only friendly ghost, and then we have these three nut jobs, Stretch, Stinky, and Fetso. I mean, it's basically a setup straight out of a Halloween picture book, really. You know, it's simple. The setup is really simple. It's cozy and warm, and for some reason, it is somewhat sentimental. I don't really know. It feels sentimental, but it definitely is funny. The movie is somewhat fluffy. So that's basically the setup for this movie. Now, what works well for this movie, and why do I think this movie still holds up 30 years? Well, this movie is actually pretty groundbreaking in terms of visual effects. And, nowadays we have a lot of tools that we can basically use to, do the CGI and whatnot. But, 30 years ago, we didn't have all these technical marvels. So, yeah, the actors did a pretty good job with pretty much nothing. I mean, Casper and his uncles, so the three ghosts, basically the bullies, so we have Stretch, Stinky, and Fatso. Basically, they were all fully CGI. I mean, long ago before that was even standard. I mean, we're talking 30 years ago. So Pullman and Richie, they had to perform opposite of nothing, reacting to nothing, reacting to ghosts that didn't really exist. And somehow they did a really good job and it definitely works. I mean, the CGI for this movie, it's pretty good, I would even say. No, I'm gonna say it's awesome, actually. I mean, you can see it's CGI. I mean, we all know it's CGI when we watch this movie, but it doesn't, it doesn't put you off when you watch a movie. Nowadays when you see CGI and it isn't done properly, for me, it definitely it pulls me out of the movie. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. With this movie, I know it's CGI. I know it's not the best, but it doesn't distract. I think it's done very well. I mean, the ghosts they blend into this physical world far better than you would expect. And we have Whipstaff Manor, so that is the haunted mansion. Um, well, I would even say that is pretty much the real star. The mansion deserves, I would even say, its own credit line. I mean, the production design, it is incredible. It looks really awesome. It looks Halloweeny, you know? The staircases, the dark corners, the atmosphere, the whole vibe. Yeah, it looks phenomenal. Absolutely. So yeah, I would even say that the manor itself is the star of the movie. It's spooky, but it's somewhat playful in a way, and yeah, well done. And then my personal favorite for this movie is the ghostly trio, Stretch, Stinky, and Fatso. I mean, they are hilarious. Like for real, they are hilarious. I mean, kids can probably enjoy the jokes, maybe not even all the jokes, because some of the jokes I think are somewhat adult-ish, or you would have to be, a little bit older to get the joke. But for me, they are hilarious. The scenes add some really great energy to the movie, and it keeps you entertained when the story is lagging, when the story is a little bit slow. So for me, these three are the highlight of the movie. Every time they are on the screen, I'm getting excited to see what they're going to do. I mean, they are cruel, yeah, they are chaotic, and it's pure slapstick, but they are some cartoon characters that put some really great humor into the movie. And yeah, I think these three are absolutely hilarious. And by the end of the movie, you can even say that this movie has some deeper message or something that is heartfelt that isn't really present during the movie. I mean, there is some emotion, but it doesn't really, you know, pull on the heartstrings the way this movie is trying to do, because it is somewhat of a comedy and it is, really loosey goosey. But in some parts you can feel Casper's loneliness, you can feel Cat's grief, and the idea of some unfinished business gives this movie some genuine warmth to it. And I think that is surprisingly touching, actually, for a movie like this that is actually really, really fluffy. Now, these are definitely the things that I really enjoy, but of course this movie isn't perfect. I rated it a 6, so there are some problems with the movie. Now, not too many, but definitely a few things that I think deserve the 6. And the first one is the tone. You know, is this movie a goofy kids comedy, or is it a story about death? Is it a story about letting go? This film can't really decide. I mean, one minute, these three ghosts are cracking fart jokes, and the next, Casper is remembering how he died as a child. I mean, that is, I don't really know what they were trying to do. It's so far out of each other. Like you have the fart jokes on one hand, and then remembering how you died as a kid. I mean, that's complete opposite. So that definitely is a problem with this movie, that it is inconsistent in the tone, and it leaves you a little bit confused when you're watching this movie. You're thinking, well, is this sentimental? Is this emotional? Or am I watching a cartoon? I don't really know, and it somewhat bothered me to a degree. And it's not that either side is bad. It's not like the jokes are bad or that the emotional part is bad, but it just doesn't really blend very well. It's really choppy, and you can feel that. And then we have the villain. We have Kerrigan, and she's fun to watch, but her character is really written like a parody. It feels like a parody. It feels very cartoonish. I mean, she's basically greed personified. She's obsessed with the treasure, a treasure that she hasn't even seen yet. She's willing to die for it. And yeah, that didn't really work for me. I mean, it's really 90s kids movie villainy. It's loud, it's dumb, it's totally stupid, and there's no logic. And that's the other problem that I have with this movie. There is no logic whatsoever. And that bothers me when I watch a movie when I don't know what the rules are. I'd like to know what the rules are so I can understand what is going on. And this movie doesn't really have much logic. I mean, why do some people become ghosts and others do not? I mean, we have this resurrection machine, the Lazarus resurrection machine. How does this machine even exist? Why does it exist? I mean, the film doesn't explain these things, and that is a problem because it is super important. I want to know, why does somebody become a ghost and why others don't? I want to know what this machine is about. Why does it exist? How does it exist? It's things like that that keep me busy when I watch this movie. Like, what is going on and why? And this movie is trying to keep you distracted, trying to keep you busy with the CGI to not notice these logical problems. But yeah, I mean, I noticed, so yeah, that is definitely a problem for me. And then the last thing that I think is somewhat of a problem with the movie, I mean, the movie is talking about, pretty deep stuff. We're talking about death, we're talking about loss of loved ones, and at the same time we're watching a comedy. Now the emotion works really, really late in the movie. Only by the end of the movie the emotional punch gets you, but not during the movie. It tries to build up, but I don't really feel the building up because of all the jokes in the movie. So the emotional weight, it lands at the end, and the early parts of the movie, it feels really disjointed. It really feels choppy. So that definitely is a problem for me. So yeah, visually, I would say it's pretty groundbreaking. Great set designs, great effects. The story, somewhat weak. The tone jumps between silly and sad. There's not really a good balance. Not so great either. The villains, or the villain, must be one of the dumbest villains ever written, I think. And yeah, if you like 90s movies, if you are a 90s kid, this movie is definitely a fun watch for nostalgia reasons. And it does hold up in terms of visuals, but it doesn't really hold up as tightly as you remember when you were a kid. So a 6 out of 10, I think, is definitely well deserved. So Casper, for me, it's not a must-watch masterpiece, not at all, but it definitely is a comfort watch. It's technically impressive. There is definitely a lot of charm in the movie. Surprisingly emotional at the end when this movie remembers what it's trying to do, and the nostalgia carries this movie, so that is a problem, of course. The ghostly trio keeps this movie alive. The visual effects still deserve the respect, and the jokes, yeah, I think most of the jokes definitely land. So no, it's not perfect, but on a chilly October night, when you want to watch something spooky but safe with the family or just by yourself, Casper is still your friendly ghost. So go watch Casper. 6 out of 10. I don't think that's bad. I think this movie is actually pretty fun to watch, but no more than a 6. So let me know what you think of the review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.